All right, let's make sure everything's working here. And I don't have anything assigned. Oh, here we go. Spider-Man, Amazing Spider-Man from 1977. 174, baby. Here. I guess recently I've heard they've killed the Punisher off, and I don't know anything about it. I need to find out some shit about that. That got me thinking, man, what's a really cool Punisher story? The first time I ever saw the Punisher. I know this wasn't the origin of the Punisher. That's a couple years before that, but this was the first time I had ever seen this Punisher character. I always associated him with the Hitman. The Hitman's back in town. I got some of the cover. I've got some of that cover cut off there. It says the Hitman's back in town. New York may never be the same. He's back, the pulse-pounding Punisher, back when the Punisher was cool. Ross Andru, Spider-Man. My all-time favorite Spider-Man, because it's the Spider-Man I started out with. I'm going to look in. I don't know if I've gone over this comic book or not. I think I might have. I think I can zoom this in a little bit. Let's unlock it and see if I can't make it bigger. Yeah. I'm sure there's a better way to do it, but this is probably going to cut off some of the other panels though. Once I turn the page, let me turn the page and see if it cuts off. Yeah, it does. No. So I have to shrink it just a little bit. More than that. I don't plan all this shit ahead. I just like, I was thinking about this earlier today. I got a G.I. Joe book I'm going to be going over. It's a G.I. Joe Real American Hero 40th Anniversary Special, Larry Hama. It's pretty awesome. They do a lot of covering of a silent interlude comic book. I was looking to replace that comic book in my collection, and then I got on and saw some of the prices of it, and I knew it was expensive. I used to have a couple copies of it. It's what pisses me off, and I abandoned them. But here's a cool version of the Punisher. Not this stupid ass Punisher that they have today. It's like it's like Marvel's afraid of that. I got to bring up some of that. I got to bring out some of the stuff they're saying about the current Punisher. I'm just tired of how they just ruin the good characters. So what? He kills. We can't have any. We can't have any vengeful. It's Yo Joe. It's not Go Joe. I didn't even test this. I hope this sounds all right. I updated my Go XLR today, and I messed with the settings for like 10 minutes. I'm hoping it's all right. I screwed with the noise gate and everything. Not that you give a shit. Go Joe. But yeah, they're fucking with. I mean, they've already ruined pretty much their universe, so why not ruin the Punisher too? You know. But this is my favorite Punisher. See in the front. Oh yeah, this is Len Wein. That is for Biden. What's for Biden? I'm a little slow today. You're gonna have to explain it to That's my bet. I can't do that with my voice right now. Very good. I'm lucky to be talking. Hey, above us, it's the Punisher. That's badass. I love Ross Andru. I always thought it looks like Jim Mooney embellisher with Tony DeZuniga. I believe that's how you say that. But yeah, Len Wein, he was the writer and the editor of this book. At the same time, he was writing Fantastic Four, Hulk, Go Joe. Never. Oh, go Joe. Joe Biden. See, I told you I'm a little slow, man. The synopses aren't firing, man. They are not firing. But you ruined the joke. Yeah. I've been known to do that. Yeah, you gotta. I'm not getting the. A lot of shit's going over my head right now. I'm making Michael J. Fox look cognitive right now. Let's just put it that way. I shouldn't make fun of him. I saw an interview with him the other day, though, a video. He was talking about how harder it is every day, and every day he's getting worse and worse. But he says he can really function like he doesn't need like constant help. He just needs like every once in a while to like reset him. Like just he needs to like instead of somebody like holding him and like escorting him while he's walking, he just needs like someone to reach their hand out and he resets himself and then he can walk. But it's really sad, man. Watching him, man. Because I love Michael J. Fox. You know, when I first saw him on Family Ties, like the first first episode I ever saw him on Family Ties, I didn't like him at all. I was like, oh, who is this kid? And then as I started watching the show, because I watched him on that show before Back to the Future, before I saw him in Back to the Future. I haven't had any freaking coffee today either. That's one of my problems. I had a cup of coffee this morning before I started doing yard work and went on a big long walk. Yeah, I mean, he said like he looks worse. Like his, you know, he said it's really tough. Don't get it wrong, but he's not like 100% totally helpless. But I don't know how old that interview was either. It could have been like 4 or 5 years ago, that video. I didn't look at the date of that video. I don't know how I got off on Michael J. Fox. Like those kids I work with, I call them kids. They're in their 20s. They're fucking kids to me, all right? I like them, though. They're good dudes. Like, I'll start talking about something, like, and I'll just get off on a fucking tangent, and they're like, oh, my God, who is this old fuck? Let's start talking about video games, and then, oh, yeah, comic books. Hey, above us, it's The Punisher. But this is one of my first Spider-Man I ever... It's not my first Spider-Man I ever read, but it's in like the first 10 issues of Spider-Man that I ever read. Fucking awesome. But this is the first time seeing this character. But Ross Andru is my favorite Spider-Man artist. Rob Liefeld, about 2 years ago, did a podcast episode about Spider-Man because Spider-Man was turning 60 years old. You know, the Spider-Man character is going to be 60. And he kind of ranked his favorite Spider-Man artist, and his was Ditko all the way. He doesn't like John Romita, like the classic. John Romita is known as like the merchandising Spider-Man, the classic looking, clean, crisp Spider-Man. And he said he prefers the creepy Spider-Man like Ditko and McFarlane. But, I mean, Ditko is the Jack Kirby of Spider-Man, you know what I mean? But, I mean, Steve Ditko does not get enough credit for the creation of the Marvel Universe. Jack Kirby gets, I mean, deservedly so, but Stan Lee gets more. I'm sorry, Steve Ditko created Spider-Man. Stan Lee might have made the name, and I know there's people, there's Stan Lee, like purists that think he was the greatest thing ever. He was more of a figurehead. Steve Ditko was the genius behind Spider-Man. He come up with the look of those villains. He come up with the look of all those, you know, of those classic villains that everyone, you know, made it the, you know, basically Marvel's best-selling comic book. But Ross Andru is my guy. This is the first Spider-Man, my foray into Spider-Man comic books monthly when I was a kid, you know, 8-year-old kid, and I just love the aesthetic of Ross Andru. I'm not saying he's the best illustrator. He's just got that style. I love his. I kind of like the flowing. I mean, look at this picture of the Punisher here. I love that, where he grapple hooks up there. He's about ready to get blasted by this dude with a bazooka, and he just brings down he grapple hooks on the. He grapple hooks and brings down that, and it throws the guy's aim off on the bazooka. Basically brings the house down, where he actually grapple hooks the end of the bazooka. And then it turns out it's a chick, and then she tries to stab his ass. And then I've read this comic book so many times. He's like holding her hand like, oh, you will, little one, you will. War Journal entry number 414 concluded. To me, that was so cool. She's like, pig, I won't tell you any. And he's like, I'm gonna break your freaking wrist there, sweetheart. And Spider-Man, this is, obviously Spider-Man crawling to his dumpy ass apartment. This was this was par for the course for Spider-Man. Like, he can't catch a break. His arm is basically broken. I'm thinking he either got his arm screwed up by Stegron. It was either Stegron or Molten Man. I can't remember which comic book he got his arm screwed up. It was the couple issues before this. And he's barely, he's worn out and he's coming back. They used to do, Len Wein was really good about the direct continuation into the next issue. Like, they just don't do that shit now, man. They just do not do that shit. They don't carry over anything meaningful in modern comic books. I'm not going to get started. Get me started. I got a bunch of shit to bitch about tonight. It's not all comic books, but he's made it to the window, but his spider sense is tingling here. There's someone inside my apartment, and she throws a bucket of ammonia water, filthy ammonia water on him and drenches him. It's Miss Muggins' cleaning day. I need a Miss Muggins. I need Miss Muggins to come over to my house. My house is a fucking disaster. I don't have house cleaning skills. My house cleaning skills are on the decline, I'll tell you that. Outside is fine. I mean, I prefer doing it outside, but inside, yeah. I definitely need to hire a Filipino maid or something. Why's it got to be a Filipino? I don't know. So yeah, he's all bandaged up here. And my bullet wound didn't exactly help. Oh, I know what it was. The bullet wound part reminded me, pretty sure Molten Man was breaking into somewhere and the cops got basically the jump on Spider-Man. They shot him. They got a lucky shot and it hit him in the arm. And then in the Spider-Man TV show that they had with Nicholas Hammond, they had him getting shot. Like right around this time. Probably the following year. So train Chubbles and Mr. M to clean the house while you work. Yeah, they're the reason why my house is so dirty. If I didn't have cats. So we see this Hitman character. What's his name? What's his real name? Mark Renyon. I'm going to say Mark Renyon. See how my memory serves. It's something Kenyon. Kenyon or Renyon, and I can't remember the name. God damn it. I remember, but he's getting an assassin. I like Len Wein wasn't the greatest at drawing he's the one that drew the Spider-Mobile. When they had that silly Spider-Mobile storyline, Len Wein was I might bring that one up. That one's kind of crazy. Johnny Storm helped him build it, I guess. But J. Jonah Jameson he wants them to kidnap J. Jonah Jameson. We want him delivered to us in 48 hours. I can't remember exactly why. Oh, because he's been, the People's Liberation Front. You may have read us in the papers. Yeah, the paper. So he wants to they're going to try to blackmail, kidnap J. Jonah Jameson. The Daily Bugle. Here's Harry Osborn going postal on fucking Flash Thompson. It's nothing like the movies, man. Nothing like the movies. Like Harry Osborn was unhinged at this point. Like, take that back, Flash. You like Flash Thompson. I mean, they're all friends now. In this by now, like their college days, early college days, they're all friends. But Harry Osborn has gone off the deep end here. He's the love of his life, Liz Allen, has left him and shit, and he's or thinks she's dead or something, and then she ends up getting married to a guy named Ned Leeds, if my memory's serving right. So he's seeing a therapist here named Dr. Bart Hamilton, and this leads into a storyline where Dr. Bart Hamilton finds out. You get a hint here. You get a little goblin, kind of a goblin medieval mask, and he's fascinated by like medieval shit. This therapist, but he's evil. But there's a big mystery that went on in like Spider-Man. It went on for a storyline for like 5 or 6 issues after this, almost an entire year, where you didn't know who the new Green Goblin was. Everybody assumed it was Harry Osborn. But it turned out to be this guy was brainwashing Harry Osborn and found out that his father was the Green Goblin. He's got that secret hideout with all that goblin gear and everything. So this Bart Hamilton guy ends up being like a major character in the next year in the comic books. And this is I'm not sure if this is the introduction of this character, but it was very close to this time. This is God damn it, Dr. Madison, Marla Madison, I believe, and she's supposedly like she's kind of like Jameson's a little bit of a therapist or a kind of a I don't know how to describe her really. She's there like to help him out. Kind of like an HR person or something. You do seem to have an exceptional rapport with your employees, Jonah. Yeah, right. He's putting on a show here, basically. So he comes in, he goes, where they can, I think Jameson's also got the hots for her. I mean, Ross Andrew draws her with the long legs and everything. I mean, I'm not saying she's the most, she kind of looks like, what's her face from Scooby-Doo, Velma or something, but she's a lot, better looking than that. She's got a better, they make that, never mind. She's got Daphne's body with Velma's head. Let's put it that way. I'm not talking about that stupid Sarah Miguel. I like the old cartoon of Daphne. Sarah Michelle Gellar. Oh, Jesus. So he's like, who's got their filthy feet in my favorite chair? And he turns around. I don't think you know who you are, Buster. And then it's the hitman. It's like, whoops. He's got the silencer on that pistol. They call me the hitman, Jameson. Makes any difference? You are about to be kidnapped. And he's like freaking out. Why? Ross Andrew with the sweat beads. Yeah, he's got a kind of a cartoony type style, but I think it fits the Spider-Man. I think it fits Spider-Man comics perfectly. I love the way he draws like Spider-Man flowing action shots. But she turns on the that's it, Jonah. Keep the killer occupied. Turns on the intercom here. That's funny. So everybody out in the office can hear what's going on. I guess she's turning up the volume of the intercom. Hear what's going on. That's Robbie Robertson, the assistant editor, editor-in-chief or whatever. Is Mr. Jameson kidding? That echo, of course, the intercom. No. Grabs him by the tie. And of course, Parker's there probably trying to pick up a paycheck. I don't know, P, but he calls himself the Hitman. This is not the first appearance of the Hitman. This is the second appearance of the Hitman. First appearance of the Hitman was Peter Parker, Spectacular Spider-Man, the spinoff book. I think it was issue 3. Peter Parker Spectacular Spider-Man issue 3 from the previous year. So he's like, he knows about the Hitman. This was the first time I had seen the Hitman. Because I didn't end up getting Peter Parker Spectacular Spider-Man stuff till I think they were on, like, I got them in back issues like really quick. Because a lot of times the spinner rack would hold on to stuff for a long time. So I think I could be wrong about that. I might have gotten that Peter Parker issue before this one. I can't remember. It's kind of a blur. I mean, we are talking about fucking 1977. But this was cool. He's like, I probably hate myself for saving Jonah. This is a cool panel. He's got his foot on Jameson's chest, and she's like, whoa. She's got her hands above her head. Wanted you to know you've made things very difficult for me, miss. He's just an expert fighter and a weapon guy, obviously. He doesn't have any superpowers. He doesn't have any kind of... Well, neither does the Punisher, so... He turns out to be a war buddy of Frank Castle. Well, here comes, speaking of Frank Castle, War Journal entry number 415. Len Wein. It's great starting that War Journal entry stuff. All that stuff was started by these guys in the 70s. The other dudes are just riding their fucking coattails, man. Pisses me off that they don't give credit, 100% credit where credit's due. Because as a kid, I'm reading this War Journal entry. No, this is badass. And here's Spider-Man and Punisher on a collision course on the opposite side of the buildings. So it's such a cool page. This is a badass page. I remember I got caught reading this comic book I got caught by the teacher in music class. We were supposed to be reading, singing, and reading. She'd give us like sheet music, and she had a piano in the music class, and it was the last class of the day. So everyone loved music class because you could basically slack off. And I remember she confiscated this issue because I had my issue. I was in 4th grade. Real nice lady, real nice music teacher lady. But she would play the piano and we would sing classic songs. Yeah, I'm dating the fuck out of it. We'd sing Camptown Races and fucking all the patriotic horse shit. And we would sing it, because, we're ready to go. And I remember it was a real nice day. It was a real nice day and I couldn't wait to get home, hang out with my buddy Eric, probably beat the shit out of each other playing Spider-Man or whatever, playing superheroes. But I was in 4th grade. And she confiscated this comic book from me because I had it in front of my sheet music reading it. And I was just like mouthing the words, pretending like I was singing and shit. Nobody, I don't know. But this is badass. He comes in, Spider-Man. Well, it's sure not Barbara Walters' Bright Eyes. Barbara Walters was like a big deal. She was the young hot, she was all over a female. She was like the female Walter Cronkite. She was the investigative, the big feminist. She was one of the big feminist icons at this time. Sure not Barbara Walters. I mean, she's all over the fucking TV. You couldn't get away from that dumb bitch. You may have found me again, webhead, but you're not going to hold me. And then he flips Spider-Man because his bum arm, right on his arm, he would normally probably wouldn't be able to handle Spider-Man like that. But, I mean, he is like a martial arts master. You know what I mean? I love the knife in his boot, too. And then she gets in the way of the Punisher. It's like, what the devil's going on? And then the cops, what are they going to do? What they're going to do, of course, is mistake Spider-Man for the bad guy here. Okay, everybody freeze. Of course, Spider-Man's got the drop on Hitman now. Hey, it's Spider-Man. We should have known you'd have a hand in this. Believe it or not, I actually came here to rescue Jonah. Well, you've blown your chance, Webhead. Distraction, he gets socked, and then he gets flipped. Going somewhere, Jameson? He's always got the sweat beads coming off of Jameson. You sniveling coward. I used to love that in comic books. Sniveling. I used to say that word all the time. Sniveling. I'm going to put that in my comic book that I'm writing. You're going to see a lot. You sniveling worm. Not necessarily that, but for God's sakes, do what he says. Yeah, the hitman ain't playing around. Yeah, so Spider-Man socks the cop because he thinks he's going to shoot and hit Jonah. And of course, he wrenched his arm, his bullet wound on his arm. And there's the tear gas. Cripes, this stuff is tear gas. The Marvel guys always, whenever they wanted to, like, they didn't want to say Christ. And they didn't want to have some sort of profanity. So all the Marvel, not all the Marvel guys, but like Chris Claremont and all those guys said cripes. That was kind of their, back in the 70s there, you saw that a lot. Cripes. And Punisher, protect yourself, Spider-Man. Of course, Punisher's got a gas mask. Spider-Man whips up a little web mask there to filter. He's the one-armed Spider-Man. He can just run. He doesn't have to climb. He can just run up the side of buildings, you know. He doesn't need his... So, he, you know... A miniature two... Whoops! Didn't mean to do that. A miniature two-man helicopter. How did you get that here? I summoned it by remote control. Spider-Man, yeah, persistent little cuss, aren't I? Ah, the good old smart-ass Spider-Man. Too persistent. Now you're going to pay for it. And he webs up his... He webs his goggles, webs up his pistol. Now he's pulling. Let go of me, wall crawler. You're not laying your filthy hands on me. Are you nuts, Jameson? I'm trying to save your hard-boiled hide. Rescue me, Webhead. I don't trust you as far as I can juggle, huh? You know, he gets tackled here, and that should have knocked Hitman out. Yeah, Peter Parker, Spectacular Spider-Man number 5. You were paid to murder me once and you blew it. But he was also in issue 3, 4, and 5. So, but he came the closest to killing Spider-Man in issue 5. That wrapped up the storyline. The Punisher can fight here. That's an embarrassment I can correct right now, Web Slinger. Yeah, I think I had those. I think I got those issues before this one. All I know is I don't know if I put 2 and 2 together when I was that young, but all I know is I loved. Uh-oh. My monitor blinked on and off. That's not good. He gets the best of Spider-Man there in that little struggle. And it takes Punisher too long to get up there. Punisher, I'd almost forgotten about him. He's shooting his Uzi up there or whatever it is. Punisher, don't shoot. You might hit Jameson. One stray bullet and you'll kill J. Jonah Jameson. I think I've been over this before. So you recognize me, huh? He's talking to, because it leaves me no choice to kill you. Punisher knows who he is. Punisher knows his true identity. Big Apple Battleground. I love this continuation, man. And with my injured arm, I can save any of us. This is back when Marvel wasn't like some huge corporation that, I mean, it's okay to be a huge corporation, but you got to keep your universe intact. You can't let it override your fucking universe and alienate your fans and that, or your readers. And that's what's happened. You don't see comic books like this anymore because they're just soulless. They're absolutely soulless. This is back when you could get the next issue and you knew exactly what was going on here when you, in the context of the cover. The next cover of the comic book, they show his arm being injured from, the last 3 issues. I love that shit, man. That's some cool shit. Hang on to Jameson Webslinger. The Punisher will save you both. Who's going to save you, hero, from the vengeance of the Hitman? They're hanging off the Statue of Liberty. That's a cool cover. And I don't know who. Pretty sure that's Ross Andru doing the cover as well. Probably with a little help. I don't know what other comic books Ross Andru was doing at the time. I think he was only on Spider-Man. I know he did a couple issues later. Ross Andru wasn't a guy that I saw a whole lot of stuff from. Just the most memorable stuff is his Amazing Spider-Man run. He's long since passed, but just an underrated artist in my opinion. I love his comic book style, man. I think his comic book style is just awesome. I know he did a couple of in the early 80s. He did or mid 80s, 84, 85, something like that. I think he did a couple of issues of the Vigilante character, the one that they tried to do in the Peacemaker for DC. I think he went over to DC like a lot of guys did. I didn't really keep up with it. That's Jim Mooney as the inker. Jim Mooney is a long time. Jim Mooney actually took over the main penciling job of the other book, Peter Parker's Spectacular Spider-Man book. So he was a busy guy too. He did a lot of covers. He did Marvel Team Up. He did some issues of Marvel Team Up. My fucking allergies are killing me. Is that the sound? Would that be an Uzi? That's not an Uzi. What kind of gun would that be? Just an SMG. But. I love it, man. I love the lettering. I love that old style. Punisher, no, don't shoot. I'm not sure why they did a purple sky there. Glynis Wein is the colors. That's the wife of Lynn Wein. Lynn Wein did a lot of work. Lynn Wein was doing a lot of work. Then he went over to DC. He was a mainstay of Marvel from the 70s. Created Wolverine. Basically helped create the new X-Men with Dave Cockrum. Leave me alone, Web Slinger. I'll bring that copter down one way or another. Just a continuation. So with the bad arm, he throws a Spider Tracer. Back to the old Spider Tracer. You don't see much of that anymore. Sorry, chum. Spider-Man, don't. Sorry, chum. Oh, he hits a fuel tank here. Looks like he hits his little fuel tank on the copter. Jameson's sweating bullets still. Did it. My Spider Tracer stuck to the wheel. And here come the cops, of course. The building guards. Building security. Daily Bugle security. I love this. And I love how Spider-Man does a escape line swing for Frank Castle here. It's not really sure what they're connected to, but I mean that's the beauty of Spider-Man comic books. They swing away. We don't know. Probably just a taller building. I don't know. I'm sure the Daily Bugle's not that tall. There it is right there. Just a weird, I don't know. I kind of like it's turning into nighttime, but I didn't think it was close to being nighttime in the last issue. That's kind of weird. Guess they have to progress the story. So you get some backstory where I love this Spider-Man and Punisher running around in the war wagon, Punisher's war wagon. That's so cool, man. See, I'd love to see this in the movies, man. This is like a scene out of Deadpool or something, but this is actually taken seriously, you know. They're allies, you know. They weren't, but So he spills, like, he goes back to his Nom days here. Bam. That's Frank Castle. You get some background here of Frank Castle dying. And here we have the stereotypical Viet Cong soldier look here. And here it is. What was his name? I'm trying to see if they're saying his name. Yeah, as a gang of Viet Cong come charging out of the smoke, their fingers already tightening on the triggers of their weapons. But another trigger was already squeezing the trigger of his M16. Tack-ack-ack-ack. Tack-ack-ack-ack. I've never fired an M16. I wonder, do they sound like that? They're following the Spider-Man. See, Spider-Man, I remember in the TV show, I was pissed off because Spider-Man uses his spider sense to hone in on that, his natural spider sense to hone in on that tracer, on his spider tracer. But in the TV show, he had that little whatever it was. He had a little tracer box thing that he had to, and it was shaped like a spider. It had like a LED readout thing, like a spider. Like, how in the fuck can you tell? Like, if it was going north, one of the spider legs would light up that way, or northeast, or I'm like, that's kind of silly. Like, just have him do the spider sense. Their effect for the spider sense was just cheap. All they did was like negative. They did the negative coloring on the screen of the TV show. I don't know why I brought that up. Why are we hanging around here? So the spider, the tracer fell off of the copter. I'm trying to see this guy's name. I think it's Mark Kenyon. Mark Kenyon, it's got to be. I don't think they've said his name yet. It's just some soldier that rescued him from certain death of the Viet Cong. And the last I ever saw, Lieutenant Burt Kenyon. What did I say? Mark Kenyon? Yeah, Lieutenant Burt Kenyon. I knew it was Kenyon. 2 months later, he was declared mentally unfit and discharged from the service. He's a nutcase. Just remember that you owe me a life, soldier. Who knows? Someday I might have to collect on the debt. I've long suspected Kenyon was the hitman, but I wasn't sure until I saw him face to. Hey, pull over the side quick. My spider sense is tingling. So here we go to Harry Osborn having some psychiatric couch time with this deranged therapist, Bart Hamilton. So he's delving into, and Harry Osborn in the Spider-Man comic book is like, he's always on the verge of like a nervous breakdown. They tried to mimic that in the movies as best they could, but I guess he touches a nerve here, and Harry gets pissed off, and he's jumping over to choke his therapist there. Come on, Harry, you're letting your temper run away, you arrogant fool. You dared to insult me and the woman I love. After all, you've had delusions of grandeur in the past. Nobody talks to Harry Osborn that way, mister. So we have a struggle in the lights go out. I guess the lamp gets knocked over here and the lights go out. So in the comic book, you don't know who won here. It's over. The only one who could possibly beat me is finally beaten, or oppose me is finally beaten. Now at last, the time has come for the Green Goblin to live again. So everyone's assuming, of course, that this is Harry Osborn that won this little tussle here. Because you're not really full on this Dr. Bart Hamilton character yet. Like, what's going on with him? So I always remember, I can't wait to get the next, the Green Goblin's going to come. So here we are with Jameson. Jameson saying, look, I can give you way more money than whoever's paying you. Please save your breath. It would be a shame for you to eat your words at this late date, especially since we have to kill you anyway. I'm afraid your death is necessary, Mr. Jameson. Jameson's like, oh, I'm screwed. Not sure why they go to the Statue of Liberty. We've reached. Oh, they're on like a little boat here, and they're headed toward the Statue of Liberty. Self-styled brand of terrorism. Then my death won't be in vain. Do your worst, you sniveling creep. Every single word I wrote about the PLF, the People's Liberation Front, is absolutely true. Guess they're trying to make a statement here. So they've captured the Statue of Liberty. And it's the Punisher. It's the Hitman's remote control minicopter. Morty must have repaired it. Nope, the Punisher and Spider-Man got it. So they have this final battle here up on the Statue of Liberty. But, there's no honor here, so the Hitman offs this dude. Hilarious. His employer. Now this is a cool picture here. He crashes the copter here. He's trying to get away in the mini copter. Spider-Man crashes it. Jameson's still up on top of the Statue of Liberty. Spider-Man gets grazed by the machine gun bullet. So he thinks Spider-Man's dead. Oops. Landed right on my injured arm again. My head's spinning. I'm warning you, webhead. Stay back. I'll blow Jameson's head off. See, this is good. This is cool shit, man. Not this hokey shit they come up with today. Oh, my God. Can't we just have some simple-ass, badass action stories? Now, Spider-Man has grabbed Jameson. He gets shot, but he's got that protective suit, bulletproof, protective, like Kevlar suit. So he's holding on. He had to drop his gun. He's holding on. So it had to come down to the decision of who do I save. Please, you've got to help me, soldier. Remember, you owe me a life. Come on, Punisher, give me a hand. I'm starting to lose my grip. Spider-Man's going to lose his grip there. I think Spider-Man, this part of the story, it's just to service the story. Oh, he's on his bad arm. Never mind. Okay, he's on his bad arm. I forgot. So he decides to help Spider-Man. What about me? Looks like I told you owed me a life, soldier, but I never said it had to be mine. Looks like we're even. And he falls to his death. Pretty cool. Pretty cool. I loved it as a kid. Those two issues. Thought the Punisher, couldn't get enough of the Punisher. And then when you had the return of the new Green Goblin here, what have you done to Flash Thompson? I'm not going to go over this one. This is funny though. He's like not grateful at all for Spider-Man saving his ass from the Hitman. So he throws him down. He spins the chair, and he's like, he just wants to slug him. I like how he spins him around in the chair. Hey, my arm's healed. It's those miraculous spider healing. Old people have rights. And Aunt May has smacked some cop because old people have rights. Oh no. So Aunt May has a heart attack, ends up in the hospital. And pissed off Peter Parker just throws the cops. Yeah, that's not going to get... I'm tired of being pushed around. That's not going to get anybody's attention. He just tosses the cop away. So in the next 6-7 issues, it's Aunt May's in the hospital, and then here's Mary Jane coming up. They're not together. It's like Peter Parker's still reeling from Gwen Stacy's death. Like he kind of like has sworn off women a little bit. They're friends, but they're not like romantically involved or anything. He just doesn't trust Mary Jane. She's not trustworthy. It's like I got bigger issues in my life. Now I remember this as a kid. That gizmo on the floor, he's got a poster of the Hulk that's torn up here. Thompson's apartment is being trashed. And then this awesome picture of the Green Goblin from Ross Andrew. I remember this as a kid because I knew who the Green Goblin was. They had if you're, I'd been reading Spider-Man for almost 2 years now. So you knew who the Green Goblin, they referred to the Green Goblin quite a bit. There was like a Mego toy, Green Goblin toy. You just kind of, you kind of learned about the Green Goblin through osmosis when you're reading Spider-Man. It's natural that not that I had read a bunch of issues with him but I saw this and I was like, oh shit, he's scary. I'm an 8-year-old kid and I'm like, oh my God. I love the way Ross Andrew draws him. This is the way I want Green Goblin to look, like in the movies, man. I mean, can't you make him look that way? I like him cartoony looking with the big, long purple hat and the bag of tricks on his shoulder and the badass looking. I just prefer this Goblin, the big, scary looking ears and the eyes. They just can't get this shit right, man. I love the way Ross Andrew draws him. The high voltage electro bat. So he thinks he's fighting Harry Osborn here. Look like your joyride is over, Harry. Yeah, he's calling him Harry. He's convinced this is Harry Osborn. Spoiler alert, it's not Harry Osborn. It's that therapist dude. How he learned to fight like the Goblin so quick is beyond me, but I mean, come on. It's a Len Wein comic book. They're not going to go into... You have to kind of go along with the... It's a comic book, okay? Then he throws Flash Thompson right out of the window. I love it. Oh, man. Cool stuff. I think it's cool. A lot of people now would look at this stuff and go like, oh, look at this dated. Nah, this stuff's way better. This stuff's way better than this crap they've got today. Let's see what else I can look at. Yeah, I think I'm going to look at my G.I. Joe. I have actually not looked through this that much. I skimmed through it. I got a G.I. Joe. I can show it better. Hopefully my overhead's working. Come on, overhead, work. Yay, there it is. That is my new G.I. Joe, Real American Hero, 4th. And I had to wear my G.I. Joe t-shirt. I've been bidding on G.I. Joe shit like crazy this week online with very little success. Seems like G.I. Joe is in demand right now. I even bought the old G.I. Joe movie. The one with Don Johnson as Lieutenant Falcon, Burgess Meredith as Globulus. They have Cobra Law. Now there is one super silly part. God damn, my platform's dirty. I need to clean my platform up. Let me do that real quick. I need to get let's see what this spray does. I got some spray here. Computer screen anti-static cleaner. Let's try that. Do, 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 do. Internet. I don't want to ruin my book. I need to get a better platform. Maybe I should have done this earlier. Shit's getting all dusty, and my whole gaming room actually could use a. Yeah, there we go. Now you see the reflection of the overhead, my overhead camera. Yeah. That's it. That's all. It's 200 pages of this. Oh man, this is cool. Look at all this IDW. I didn't read any G.I. Joe IDW stuff. Let's see. Let's see what I know there's there's a long. See, I haven't read any of this. I need to read this, and I might be able to learn some older stuff about. One really wanted Zorana and Xandar to be twins, but they already had twins. They had Xamot and Tomax. Oh, I can't wait to read some of this stuff. Oh, this is like in-house discussions about the development of some of these characters and stuff. A Matter of Milestones and Moments by Diana Davis. I'm not surprised G.I. Joe has reached his 40th anniversary. It's near universal appeal, built right in. Heroic men and women from every walk of life across the nation working at diversity? You mean there was diversity in comic books? No. Every walk of life? That is, of course, the reprint of the first cover of G.I. Joe. This is a nice book, by the way. It's 200 something. It's got cool silent interlude. Steve Lealoa, man. Larry Hama. Larry Hama's a decent penciler himself. I don't think he's like top notch. I don't think he's like top notch talent, like rendering, but Steve Lealoa is top notch. Steve Lealoa makes everyone look good. Badass. Just badass. His finishes, he makes a lot of artists look really good. I covered a couple issues where Steve Lealoa was the embellisher on like Sal Buscema pencils for Marvel Team Up. Yeah, really good. Really, really good. But the interiors, this is Herb Trimpe. Yeah. With Bob McLeod. Bob McLeod's the inker. That's a good combination. Larry Hama's the scripter. Herb Trimpe. I don't know. I've heard everyone call him Trimpe. I've heard some people refer to him as Trimp. I don't know. I always call him Herb Trimpe. That's what I've heard the most. There are some guys I've heard call him Herb Trimpe. I don't know. So who knows? I think it's Trimpe. I think it's pronounced Trimpe. I could be wrong. So that's the way I always pronounced it. Bob McLeod is a longtime penciler for Marvel, inker. This is right. Let's see. This is G.I. Joe #1 that came out in 82. Sometime I want to say the summer of 82. It might have been late 82. I cannot remember. I remember picking it up. I remember getting it not when it first came out because I didn't have the money. It was $1.50, as you can see right there. It says June, and that would be 82. So it probably came out like April of 82. I didn't end up getting this until 83. I didn't end up getting G.I. Joe #1 until 83, and I had to go to the comic store and get them in back issues. So it was kind of like getting them off the spinner rack because I ended up buying like the first 4 or 5 issues like at the same time. I remember. My friend as a freshman, because I started high school in '83, and my friend, who was a Vietnamese guy, he actually had this. His brother had this issue, and that's the first time I'd ever seen it. So I had seen the toy commercials. I had seen some of the toy commercials, but yeah, I was really into this like my freshman year of high school. Operation Lady Doomsday. I mean, this is just awesome. Now, the Baroness. I love the Baroness. One of my favorite G.I. Joe characters. I like Major Blood too, but they never used him a lot. They used him in the first. They used him sparingly in the first animated, the first G.I. Joe animated, which is awesome, with the mass device and all that stuff. They had Major Blood quite a bit. So here's here's the original Joes. Original Joes are. I wonder if I can zoom that in a little bit. I don't want to mess with it too much because I'll probably screw it up. Oh. I think that's good right there. Let me apply that. Yeah, there we go. That might be a little better. I could probably do better lighting too. I need another light in here. Well, God, I know what I'll do. I can control my lights wirelessly. I can control one of them. Yeah, let's boost that light up. There we go. It's only one light though. The other light I don't have wireless control of because it keeps getting fucking knocked off my network. It's pissing me off. But here's the original Joes. Hawk, Zap, Grand Slam, Scarlet, Steeler. He was the tank driver. Short Fuse, Flash. They never use these guys hardly. They use Clutch a lot. They use Stalker a lot. Grunt, Breaker, they use quite a bit. They changed all the looks of these guys. Snake Eyes, of course, was the big shoot. There's one called Shooter. I don't know if that was ode to Jim Shooter or whatever. Rock and Roll they use a lot. Rock and Roll is a popular character. Scarlet, Clutch, Stalker, and Snake Eyes were probably the most. Zap, he was like a bomb expert guy. Or maybe they changed it. I don't know. But they kind of had new versions of these guys, like they later on they had a character called like Sci-Fi. It was like the laser sniper trooper and stuff like that. Snake Eyes, Stalker, Scarlet, Rock and Roll were used way more than the rest of them. And then they had Duke. And there's the first time you see really Scarlet right here. Scarlet on the firing range. There's Stalker. He's like a French dude. I'm not going to go through the entire first. Cobra. But yeah, if you've never read G.I. Joe #1, yeah, they changed the look of a lot of these characters from the animated, like Breaker. Breaker looks a lot different. They tapped Herb Trimpe because he does military vehicles really well. He was like, there's Rock and Roll on the motorcycle, and the Baroness with the disguise. Which they played up in the first animated series. Yeah, the first one's cool, but I mean, from what has come later on, it's kind of hard to get into the first issue. A lot of, I mean, they cover a lot of this. Now here we go. Here's the most famous issue of GI Joe. They don't have it. They don't have the number listed here, but this is GI Joe number 21. It's the most valuable GI Joe you can get. You would think number 1 would be the most valuable, but if you can get a really high grade copy of GI Joe number 21, you've got something. Larry Hama story and breakdowns. He does the rough pencils, and I know they've got. I read the description of this book. They've got a breakdown of this story, Larry Hama's original pencils. So without Steve Leialoha, but of course Steve Leialoha adds some nice looking shit to this. I love this comic book when I got it. I remember getting 2 copies of this. This issue was like a big deal when it came out. It hit the comic book store in 1984. I was, of course, in high school. And I remember a lot of people were talking about this because there's no words. There's a plot, of course, but this is a comic book with no dialogue whatsoever. It's all visuals, and the visuals are cool. Storm Shadow, they capture Scarlet here. They beat the crap out of her. This is I love the Storm Shadow. I had to go out and get the Storm Shadow action figure right away. I love this picture of Scarlet here. She's like, "Oh yeah, tough guy," and she bites her. She bites Storm Shadow's thumb. That's awesome. And of course, you see it's Snake Eyes coming to the rescue here. Open up the hatch. This is cool. At first, I thought, what a comic book with no dialogue. What a waste of money. But then I looked through it and I like, oh my God. And I looked through it like, I mean, here, technically there's some wording here, but there's no spoken dialogue. I remember looking through this. I remember drawing pictures when I was in high school from this comic book. Me and my buddy were like, we would in class, we would be drawing pictures from this issue. I like the chess piece. Destro's got the G.I. Joe and Cobra chess pieces and stuff. That's badass. God, I wish she uses her hairpin here. Now they're going to have a tribute later on in this book. This is a thick book. It's got 230 pages. They've got a tribute where they have a different artist doing each page, and they kind of take some liberties. I kind of glanced through it. I was actually only familiar with like 2 of the artists. One of them is a big name. But I like that she picks her lock there, and Snake Eyes is coming in. And Destro's got a thing for Baroness here, you can tell. You know, he's looking at the Baroness. They always had a thing together. He had the hots for Baroness. Of course, Storm Shadow figures Snake Eyes is going to be making a rescue attempt, looking for Scarlet here. I love it. She slams the manhole cover thing, the hatch cover, down on Storm Shadow. Yeah, Snake Eyes is taking out the cool little action scene here with him and the dagger. Just brutal. Damn, slices that dude up, man. Snake Eyes on his ninja. Oh, he gets grabbed by the throat, and then he flips the guy over. And then Destro sees the guy flying down through the window. It's like, uh-oh. The Joes are rescuing Scarlet. Trying to. So he leads, oh boy, these guys are going to be a lot of help, right? I'd love to see Destro versus, so that's Snake Eyes, of course, dressed up as a Cobra officer. With with the real Cobra officer hanging by a rope that he's got tied around his waist, or tied around the not his waist, but tied around the, what do they call that, rampart or something. What a cool picture. God, I wish I could draw like that. Storm Shadow gets the old Frank Miller, the Frank Miller ninja, the hand. That's not who they are. They're just ninjas. It's this little ninja Cobra clan. I like how they're hanging up like bats here. Of course, it was the full-on ninja craze at this time. 1984, 1980, 1983, 1984, ninjas were everywhere. I mean, that was the big craze. You had ninjas, Revenge of the Ninja 1, 2, 3, 4 at the movie theater. You had that show on TV that didn't last very long with Lee Van Cleef called The Master. That was badass. God, we love that show. It was on a Friday night. I'd go over to my buddy's house, and it was on like at 9:30 at night. And I'd always ride my bike over on Friday night to my buddy's house. We'd watch The Master. One of my buddies from high school. Then we go climb up on one of our teachers' houses. Yeah, I was immature. I don't give a shit. I mean, come on. I'm 15 years old. So we'd put on our, we had our throwing stars and shit. Yeah, we acted like punks in high school. When I was a sophomore in high school, I had the maturity of someone that was like in 7th grade, I guess. I mean, I wasn't causing trouble, but yeah, there was a teacher we hated named Dr. Smith. He's the computer science teacher. And we hated, he would call us boneheads. Hey, you boneheads, be quiet. Because we'd be over there talking about comic books and, reading comic books in class while, and we'd, hey, look at this. And he's like, hey, boneheads. So we'd climb up on his house and just sit there late Friday night after watching The Master. That's true. It sounds hokey, but yeah, we would. Because he lived like about a half a mile from where my buddy lived. Yeah, this is cool. So we have the showdown here with Snake Eyes and the ninjas. Scarlet comes with Storm Shadow's jet glider. Uh-oh. Oh, no. Scarlet's about ready to get the sword in the heart to save Snake Eyes. These Joes have some camaraderie, but Snake Eyes takes it and then flips it behind. Scarlet's like, oh, yeah. And then they take off. I always thought Scarlet should have like a romance with Snake Eyes, but that would be kind of weird. I love that. I always love that Storm Shadow tattoo. We'd like draw that shit on our arm and stuff. Look, and there you see the first connection here between, and they set this up on purpose. You see the connection between Snake Eyes. They were in the same clan, so you kind of get a look at all that shit. I love this. They're taking off here. That's my sound effect. What follows is a recreation of Silent Interlude by 22 separate artists. Rob Liefeld, page 19. That's the name that sticks out. Which other? Dan Schoening. That's all. I'm not. Salvador Velasquez, I know of, but I'm not familiar with all these guys. These guys are all. I've heard of a couple. I've heard of Alex Sanchez, but I'm not familiar with some of these. These are from all different these aren't just all like superhero comic book artists. But of course, Rob Liefeld's the big name. Jamie Sullivan and Audrey Sullivan, I have no idea who that is. Andrew Lee Griffith, I do not know any more of these names. These guys are a little after my comic book interest, except for Rob Liefeld. I mean, obviously, know who that is. So we've got G.I. Joe. I wish I had that list. I mean, I can immediately point out Rob Liefeld's is easy. I think Rob Liefeld takes the biggest liberty on his page as well. I don't know. I'll have to look at it. I just kind of glanced at this. This is the first time like actually looking at this kind of closely. Tom Feister, I don't know if he's a painter or something, but as you can see, all different styles. Like, this is cool. I kind of like this. It's a lot more, not crazy about this with the big, thick line work there, but of course, would I like to be able to draw like that? Well, yeah, fucking of course. I like this, though. That's cool. I like that Storm Shadow, too. That's kind of neat. And then when you see, this is a badass. That's pretty badass. I'm not crazy about this. Destro. I like that Destro page. That's neat. I am not familiar. Adam. See, some of these are newer artists. They just look too. Some of these don't look. It just doesn't look like art made for like a comic book. I'd be interested. And I do not like this picture of the Baroness. I mean, that Destro's okay. Now I'm digging this. Did they sign the page? Some of them did. I'm kind of digging this, though. That's decent. I got a little bit of a glare here because I turned up that light. I'll turn that light down one notch here. It's kind of cool they did this. I wish it were like better known artists that I knew about. I mean, that's my problem. I don't know the artist, but that's neat. You won't be able to mistake Liefeld's page. And Liefeld's page doesn't really match the actual. Some of these pages are, see, like these ninjas are upside down here, but they're not like dark silhouette in the back. I mean, you see them here, but this is like they took like a whole different perspective of the original page. Then you see the ninjas. I don't remember that. The perspective is a little different. Maybe I'm wrong. I wish I had two copies so I could look. I'm going to keep that page. I mean, it's so different. Oh, no, it is a lot. It is a lot alike. See, this is much different than that. That's a worm's eye view, and this is a bird's eye view. They changed the perspective there. But the storm, that's why I didn't recognize it, because it's got just a different type of coloring scheme there. Exactly the same there. Just with the new digital coloring and everything. I prefer the old style comic book look. I've always been a fan I'm not a fan of this. Yeah, it looks pretty, but it just doesn't look like comic book. I like more of a comic book look from the old pulp paper. But that's just me. I'm old school. I have my old school preferences. I like the look of practical effects in movies way more than I like fucking CGI. Give me an old practical effect movie, because it's up to me to use my imagination a little bit the fucking CGI just it takes me out of it. You know what I mean? I don't. Now I know some things you have to have CGI, but one thing I hate is like CGI Godzilla. I can't get into these CGI Godzilla movies. Sorry. I'd rather have a guy in a rubber suit. That's just me. I mean, that's the charm of it. You know what I mean? There's more to these movies than just looking realistic. It's, movies mean more than that to me than just. Give me a horror. I hate horror movies with fucking CGI. They're not scary at all. The fuck, I grew up on the scary, super scary shit with the cheesy, the blood splatter and the practical effects. Give me that all day long. See, I don't remember. Ew. Okay, this is the one where Scarlet captures Storm Shadow's glider. Got some glare going there. Let me turn that light down just a little more. It's glaring me up here. See, that's this shiny reflective stuff. Yeah, it's higher quality, but I like that grenade on the sides there. Woo! See, now this here is cool, but I would like to see it old style. I'd like to see that like black and white. That'd be badass. Now, I like when you can tell the CGI was used or is used to enhance practical effects. Yes and no. I mean, it just depends on what it is. I've never liked a horror movie that has CGI effects. I've never once been scared of a horror movie. It's like, oh, you're older now. Nah. I just... I just don't... I can't get into CGI, man. I don't know. Of course, you have to have CGI for the Marvel movies, but they can overdo it. You know what I mean? I like the old... To me, the perfect horror movie is John Carpenter's The Thing from '82. Like, all practical effects. They have to be creative, or Halloween, the original John Carpenter Halloween, where they didn't have a big budget, and they have to... It's the atmosphere that's way more important than some kind of digital... It's just not there yet. I mean, it takes me out of it. That's just me, though. I'm not saying, I just like practical effects. Like, when Star Wars, I love the original Star Wars. I love when Lucas, they made a big deal in like 97 about those digital remastered. I don't want it digitally remastered. It's like, no, it looks overproduced. I liked it looking, I like that grainy, gritty, dirty stuff, It's visceral. I don't want it all shiny, glossy. Fuck that. I don't want Luke's X-Wing looking all shiny, glossy with the what do they call it? The lighting, lens flare effect, and get the fuck out of there with that stuff, man. Nah. Now, you can see Rob Liefeld. This is Rob Liefeld's page. I'm trying to find. I mean, if that doesn't tell you, that ain't Rob Liefeld, then if you can't tell that, that's pretty cool. He did some recent Snake Eyes. He did Snake Eyes, thing called Snake Eyes Dead Game. That's focusing in. I'm trying my best. But yeah, I like Liefeld's page, but I like the page. I kind of like the page before it. I just wish it looked more old style. I know. Get on with the times, you old dinosaur. I'm trying to find Liefeld's page. See, okay, I found it. Liefeld took the biggest liberty. Imagine that. Think about movies like Gladiator when you can't have the large coliseums filled with people, so you build the first few stories of it and then you CGI. Yeah, like I said, it depends on what it is. Yeah, I like Ben-Hur better than Gladiator, though. I mean, I love the movie Gladiator. Don't get me wrong, but I understand what you're saying there. But they didn't overdo the CGI on that. You know what I mean? But yeah, of course they had the CGI in all that. They did a really good job on that movie, making it look like non-CGI. There's some movies that don't give a shit. They think that the more I can CGI you, the better. Doesn't matter what it looks, you know. I thought those Star Wars prequel were a perfect example of how CGI took away from the movie. All those little robot, all those Roger, you know, those fucking robot battle droid things. I can't get it. I want to see stormtroopers. I want to see dudes in white suits. Actual actors in white suits. So what if you have less and you have to be creative with the camera? CGI takes a lot of creativity out of movies. Go back and watch John Carpenter's original Halloween movie. Yeah, well, yeah, he was testing he was basically using that as a test for the whole digital, going 100% digital. So it's to quote him, I can make the movie the way I originally wanted it. If you imagine the original Star Wars came out and it was like Phantom Menace, we wouldn't be talking about Star Wars today. You know? Yeah, that's what I was saying that earlier. Yeah, I hate that. But Rob Liefeld here took the biggest liberty with his page. As you can see right here, this perspective. Now he's got Snake Eyes. He's like, fuck this. This panel could be much better. And he's got a point. Liefeld can add a lot more dynamic action to a page. Like, to me, this panel's a little weak. It doesn't, like, I can't really tell what the hell's going on with this panel. Yeah, Snake Eyes is shoving this guy into Storm Shadow's sword. But it just, I think Rob Liefeld's like, I can do that panel like this, making it look cooler with Snake Eyes all sprawled out. Maybe he didn't do 100% the best job, but, you know, he's got the chain down here. I think the chain around the neck would have been better. But then he's flipping over that guy and going right into Storm Shadow, which doesn't really make much sense there because Storm Shadow's here in the last panel. But it still looks action, you know, it looks kind of cool. This middle panel's a little bit of a weird, because he's flipping over and then he's kicking Storm Shadow. I would have rather had him do the double kick. But he's got him doing the punch on Storm Shadow instead of the double kick. So he definitely took, and right here you see the rip. You see where Snake Eyes got the sword ripped his suit, which sets up that tattoo shot at the end where the bond between, kind of that link between Storm Shadow and Snake Eyes. But you don't see any of that here. That's kind of lost on this. So I understand they're just doing one page, you know. And it might have been like, hey, we need this. It might have been like a last minute thing. Hey, we need this page or whatever, you know. So he knocks this. I like this. I'm not crazy about this panel, but I like this. Like, he's got more emotion in the eyes here. This is a more sinister looking, as like, oh shit. Like, he looks pissed off. Here he's just kind of, there's not as much emotion in that scene. This scene's better, and you see like the nighttime. You can't tell where Snake Eyes is headed here. Just like a big tall door, and then he's running, and then this panel's not so great either. But then you just see the glider coming down. And then the other artist picks it up here. But this is real cartoony. This looks like some of the modern comic books now that are meant to attract 12-year-old girls or something. I don't like that. Emo Scarlet here. I'm not crazy about all that. But this isn't bad. I like that. That's cool. And then he flips the sword over. That was a cool sequence. Snake Eyes saves the day. And then, of course, you've got, you still have the tattoo thing going on here. That is not lost on the not so silent confession. More back. So I love this stuff, man. I don't want to watch a video on this stuff. I want to read about this stuff. Yeah, they're talking about the animated series, The Mass Device. Yeah, I can't wait I have not read any of this. So I love knowing the back. I love knowing the backstory of a lot of this stuff. So yeah, I'll be soaking all this stuff up. Oh, he's talking about an auction. Original cover art for G.I. Joe. Ed Hannigan and Klaus Janson. Oh, wait. The Joes honored the fallen Snake Eyes with an issue-length moment of silence. In January 2022, the original cover art for G.I. Joe, A Real American Hero, number 21, original cover art by Ed Hannigan. Okay, it's Ed Hannigan and Klaus Janson. Klaus Janson, the famous inker of Frank Miller on Dark Knight and Daredevil, sold for $312,000 at auction. That's awesome. And now IDW Publishing celebrates the 40th anniversary. So the original art went for $312,000. This guy says, I'm inspired by Larry Hama's fearlessness and his imagination. I've met, had dinner with, and tabled next to him at shows. He's one of the most creative spirits I've ever encountered. And yet I still don't own a number 21. I bought 2 of them from the comic shop when I went to get this from Bright's Book Exchange. In 1984, I bought 2 issues of Silent Interlude. One to keep bagged and board, and one I could pour through with my buddy. And it says, and yet I still don't own one. I've been looking them up on eBay. I saw one for $500. It was a 9.6 the other day. I was like, oh, gee, I used to have 2 of them. But I had every G.I. Joe from 82 to... At one point, I had every G.I. Joe from 82 to 87. That included the yearbook and the annual thing. Or the G.I. Joe yearbook thing they did. That had Michael Golden. It had Michael Golden doing the cover. But like a dumbass, I don't have them. It's not for a lack of opportunity. He was a retailer. Before I wrote comics, I was a retailer. I've held so many copies of G.I. Joe number 21, I've lost count in my hands. And it's not a money thing. Although some of the graded ones can get up there. I like the story where it's at. Sure, some of the wishes I could hop in the DeLorean and go back and tell my younger self, dude, it's only $10. Hell, if I could create a time machine and go back and just to buy comic books, oh man, the info I have now, oh, that'd be so great. Yeah, of course. I'd go back and clean them out and then put them in an airtight safe Silent Interlude is just as much a turning point for me personally as it is the entire series, and I bet I'm not alone. So now you know I'm that fan who doesn't and will probably never own the most important issue of G.I. Joe, the Real American Hero. I've got the tattoo instead. That would be a cool... I'm not a tattoo guy. I don't like needles. But if I were to get a tattoo, the Storm Shadow Snake Eyes tattoo, that would be cool. Ah, we've got the breakdowns here. Story and breakdowns. Issue number 21. In addition to writing the now famous story for G.I. Joe. See, when I was in high school, and I remember vividly bringing those comic books, bringing G.I. Joe number 21 home, and plopping down on my bed and pouring through it. I vividly remember it. Going upstairs to my bedroom in my mom and dad's house, plopping down, and looking through it for like an hour, like just analyzing every panel. Never did I think that fucking 30 years later, 40 years, 39 years later, I'd be talking about that comic book. That's a trip. I'm like, 39 years later. Oh my God. But here's the penciled breakdowns by Larry Hama. Now this is cool. The breakdowns I'm doing for my comic book is not near this good or detailed. Goes without saying, because I don't have the talent that a Larry Hama has. That is cool. I love seeing this stuff. But just goes to show you how much Steve Lealoa like renders everything. Oh no, these got messed up. These got a little dark on the photocopy. Much better picture of Baroness than they did in the the tribute book. That's neat. I like that, grabbing Snake Eyes by the throat. Some cool stuff. There it is. And then somebody did a painting or something. Art by Ashley Wood. That reminds me of some like a Bill Sienkiewicz type. Yeah, that's a painting. Now we got G.I. Joe number 24, a badass Mike Zeck. It's got to be Mike Zeck. You can always tell. I can tell Mike Zeck. They tried to copy. I saw a British version of, covered by Mike Zeck and John Beatty. He was doing Captain America at the time. Mike Zeck was. To me, he's got a certain style, it's hard to describe. I can just see Zeck and look. It's a little like he makes his characters a little more bulky, a little thicker, kind of blocky a little bit. But it looks good. I mean, now this is Russ Heath. Zeck just does the cover. He did quite a few covers. John Byrne later the following year did quite a few covers for G.I. Joe. He did some cool covers. And Michael Golden did a cool cover as well. Here's Roadblock and Rock and Roll. Roadblock was kind of a breakout character a little bit. What is this, G.I. Joe 24? Yeah, I remember getting this. I remember buying this. I didn't like Cobra Commander. I like Cobra Commander with the hood better than I do the shiny. And I definitely don't like that hat. I like it more streamlined. I'm not crazy about how Russ Heath would draw Cobra Commander like that. I mean, I like the mirror face mask, but I prefer the hooded Cobra Commander. I don't really like this picture of Destro too much. Russ Heath is good. I mean, it's just kind of simple. There's nothing like he draws a nice Baroness. I gotta hand it to him there. He draws a sexy as hell Baroness. There's Gung Ho. I like his way he draws Storm Shadow as well, but it's just kind of basic art as far as comic book art. There's nothing like super exciting, but it's serviceable for G.I. Joe. It's still gonna sell, you know. It's not gonna make or break G.I. Joe. Ooh, Zartan. I remember buying the Zartan action figure, and I left it outside in the backyard to see, and it turned the fucking thing turned green or blue. It had, if you put it out in the sun, it would turn, but that effect would fade away. You did it like after a couple of weeks, it wouldn't do it anymore. Like whatever chemical they put in, the plastic just kind of wore out. Kind of cool though. Yeah, he has a reaction to sunlight. That's like he's a master disguise mercenary kind of guy, but he's got that one little glitch. And I remember getting this one. The Strangest Secret of All, Subject Snake Eyes. They were really running on this after Silent Interlude. They really ran with the Snake Eyes, and this is Snake Eyes right here. It says me, but you never see his face. There's his sister. There's Snake Eyes' sister, but they don't show her entire face. They have the badge, the Medal of Honor, and then you see him in his. There's Stalker and Storm Shadow. So they start getting into the origin of Snake Eyes. It was a real, they were riding that Snake Eyes train, the popularity of that character. He was the big breakout character of G.I. Joe at the time. This book was selling too, man. Yeah, I vividly remember this. This reminded me of this is a cover by Mike Zeck and Bob Wiacek, but when I first glanced at it, it's got Steve Ditko vibes in it. It just gave me, this right here looks like Steve Ditko, more of a Steve Ditko drawing, because that's supposed to be a photograph from the older days. I don't know if that's like a purposeful thing, but I just got a Steve Ditko vibe on the art. But that's Mike Zeck and Bob Wiacek. Larry Hama, there we go. Larry Hama with the breakdowns, and Steve Leialoha again. So you have Zartan and Destro here. I like this guy. This is like a Mr. Miyagi guy that ended up training. Man, I haven't looked at this comic book in so long. God, I miss these issues. That's the guy that pretty much trained Snake Eyes. He's got a gun. This punk's. I like how he takes. I love this. He flips him a money roll, $50, and he takes his gun from him. You got Snake Eyes here reading the paper in the background, like with his gun. He trades him the gun for the money, but he disarms the gun. He takes it, takes out the magazine, and then he gives the kid $50 for the gun. So that's kind of the sensei of Mr. Miyagi to Snake Eyes. You see some of the origin of Snake Eyes and stuff. And they added Stalker in. That's kind of cool. Like Stalker, they have a link, I guess. Man, it's been a long time since I've read this. And they've got this character. They've got Wild Weasel and Firefly. I thought Firefly was cool. They were trying to make more characters that looked like Snake Eyes. He's an explosive expert guy. There's Tripwire. Gung Ho and Torpedo. But here's Snake Eyes. And they got him covered. He got injured, and Storm Shadow saves him in the battle when their chopper goes down. Nobody's there. Nobody's there to meet Snake Eyes at the old airport, and you don't see his face. That was the thing. You never saw Snake Eyes' face. There you see everybody else getting greeted by their family. Nobody came to meet Snake Eyes. It's pretty sad. Once again, you never see his face. He's either got bandages or glasses or his hat pulled down. The Hard Master. This is Soft Master, Hard Master, Young Master. And you see him training. There's Snake Eyes under the waterfall. Intense concentration. Just riding the ninja. Riding the ninja craze wave. And there's the clan symbol that they had tattooed. Pretty cool. Oh, and then you see the master guy get shot with the arrow. Storm Shadow betrayed. Oh, it's quicksand. They got this dog leading them through here to get the Joes, I guess. Leads them right into quicksand. Hilarious. And then this is G.I. Joe 50. This is kind of a famous story. Rod Wingham does the pencils. God, Larry Hama was on this book forever. The Battle of Springfield. This is a much talk about. This is Serpentor. By this time, they've introduced Serpentor. There's Spirit. I don't really like Rod Wingham's. They could do better designing Serpentor. Serpentor is cool in the animated. Like, he looks badass with his outfit. There's Spirit. I think I already said that. Oh, Serpentor got injured. This is right around the time where I was basically done collecting comic books monthly. I remember picking up this issue, but I just wasn't as into them. My interest in comic books at the time was waning. Right around this time. This is issue 50. So this would have been 87. This is probably 86. Yeah, because that's when they hadn't like put the Cobra Law. They hadn't put the Cobra Law characters into play yet. I don't believe they did that until 87. But both G.I. Joe and Transformers came out with an animated movie, like a higher quality animated movie around this time. I'll have to read through this. I don't ever recall reading this issue. I know I had it. I don't recall. Yeah, Zarana. I remember now. Yeah, they introduced Zarana. They made her look a little different in the animated. I'm Zartan's sister, Zarana. And then this is a redone cover of the G.I. Joe yearbook. That was originally Michael Golden. This is not Michael Golden. Right. G.I. Joe 86. I have never read this. Marshall Rogers. Oh, wow. I didn't know they had Marshall Rogers. To me, Marshall Rogers is best known for doing a run on Doctor Strange. They got Marshall Rogers doing G.I. Joe. This I did not know. I never knew that. Wow. Nice. Yeah, he had a really good run on Doctor Strange in the 80s. I might go over those issues sometime. Oh, I love this. Boom. Yeah, Marshall Rogers does some good. Oh, there's the Bat Troopers. There's Firefly. I know they had the Python Patrol as well. I wasn't as familiar with those characters. That's a little bit after I got out of it. But they follow it up with this. Oh, and then you have some old classic. Oh, man. Cool. Duke, Conrad Hauser, Duke. Recondo. Rock and Roll. Oh, I skipped some. I know all these characters. Art by Michael Golden. There's the re-rendered. Everything you know. This is the re-rendered cover. Yeah, I remember. I saw it when they advertised this GI Joe yearbook. I was bummed out. It was $1.50, but I put it on my list. I was like, well, I'll get it if I can afford it. If I can scrape up some extra dollars that month to get it. But I put it on my pull list at the comic book shop. And then they had they had a little parentheses, cover by Michael Golden. So I was like, yeah, I got to get Michael Golden. I got to get the cover. And it was badass. Look at that. Michael Golden, G.I. Joe. Look at that spirit and his big eagle here. Freedom. I think his eagle's name is Freedom. You got Cover Girl, Mutt, and Junkyard, Deep Six, Stalker, Roadblock, Gung Ho, Wild Bill, one of my favorites. Cutter, that character's name's Cutter, and I believe that's Ace, but they might have been calling him Slipstream. The new jet fighter guy was Slipstream. They didn't use Ace. I think there was some sort of licensing problem or something. They just didn't like that name or something. But yeah, at that point it might have been Slipstream. And no, that's not it. Cover Girl. I think they had Cover Girl's tank. Cover Girl had a Wolverine tank. That's Rock and Roll's motorcycle with the Gatling gun on the side, the Vulcan cannon or whatever it is. Then you've got Snow Job's. Good God. Snow Job's snow vehicle. What the fuck are they called? I can't think. I love that cover, man. Yeah, there's Cutter. He's the hovercraft captain. Snake Eyes, obviously. Copperhead. Codename Mamba and Gator. He's the swamp vehicle. He's the swamp guy for Cobra. He's not part of Zartan's crew. Recondo. They make Recondo look older here. Duke, of course. Rock and Roll. There's Deep Six. There's Thunder. He was a tank driver guy. Storm Shadow, Firefly, Blowtorch, Major Blood, Roadblock, Ripcord. For some reason, they made Ripcord in that G.I. Joe movie, and they made him Marlon Wayans or whatever, which I don't care. Just Ripcord, they very rarely use that character. Major Blood. They never used Major Blood enough. They did in the comic books, but there's Wild Weasel, Scrap Iron. They use him quite a bit in the animated stuff. Mutt's one of my favorites. Yep. Stanley Perlmutter. That's a takeoff of the guy that owned Marvel at the time, I believe. Ike Perlmutter. They made this guy Stanley Perlmutter, but I love Mutt and Junkyard. Spirit. My favorite Joe is Beachhead, though. I love Beachhead. Zartan. I don't like that drawing of Zartan. Zartan can look much cooler than that. Destro, of course. There's Steeler. He was one of the original Pittsburgh, PA, of course. He's one of the original Joes. Then you got the Pit, the G.I. Joe Command Center. Break it down here. The Vamp. Attack Multipurpose. The Mobat. And then you have like there's the high-speed Sentry, the Hiss tank. There's the Wolverine armored missile. That's Cover Girl's vehicle, the flying submarine, the Shark, the Deep Six, Sky Striker, the USS Flag. This was all cool, man. Look at the work. Look at the work that went into designing this, the blueprints of this stuff, man. God, the Persuader, the Terradrome, the Raven, that's the Cobra jet, the Cobra Mamba helicopter, Dragonfly. Oh, man, look at all this stuff, man. Very cool book. Really wasn't that expensive either. I got it for 20 some odd bucks, man. This is $29.99 originally, but I got mine for like $23, and the shipping was free because Amazon Prime. So yeah, definitely worth every penny of it, man. Every penny. Awesome stuff. I love going through this. I can't wait to read all this. Original series editors: Tom DeFalco, Denny O'Neil, Bob Harris, and Bobby Chase. Yep. Tom Waltz, IDW G.I. Joe editors. I don't know those guys. Tom Waltz and Jonathan Manning. I have no idea. Never heard of them. But really cool. I can't wait to read all this stuff. Not going to do it tonight because I got to get off here. The Atlanta Braves game is on with the Arizona Diamondbacks right now, so I am missing it. So that wraps up my G.I. Joe, Yo Joe. And I recently bought that G.I. Joe movie on Amazon Prime. I've been watching it a bunch. So I'm going to order some more G.I. Joe hard copy stuff, and I'm going to try to share it on my channel. I'm also trying to start getting stuff uploaded to Rumble very soon, so I can start live streaming on Rumble. But that's a little bit down the road. That's in the plans. So, that's the G.I. Joe 40th anniversary. Love it. Absolutely love it. So I'm going to, probably this week, try to pick up something. I had bid on the Best of Larry Hama book, but I got outbid on it. So I wasn't going to pay. I set myself on a certain price, and I wasn't going to pay more. So I'm pretty disciplined when it comes to trying to get the best deal I can on this stuff. So I'm in no hurry. But anyway, that's my look at G.I. Joe 40th anniversary special. So I am going to get out of here. I'm losing my voice. These allergies are still getting me down. They're getting me down. The man is getting me down. So I am out of here.